there, Vanessa here. Welcome to my Strictly Roundup for this week. If you fancy watching it and I'm giving an inside scoop, I really am this week, then press the subscribe button. You can leave your questions, you can leave your comments, and I will answer them next week. I don't need to think about why Pete Wicks ended up at the bottom of the scoreboard this week. I know why. How do I know? Because when I did Strictly, my professional partner, James Jordan, told me this, and I don't think you will have heard this anywhere else. James said to me, when the bosses of Strictly have had enough of you being on the show and they want you to be evicted and sent home, they have ways of getting rid of you, and it's not much to do with whether you dance well or you dance badly. These are the different ways. The first one is the film, the VT, the videotape, the little clip of film that they put on the show before you dance. Obviously, the content of that film is totally up to the editors and the bosses of the program. So it could be that they show you looking lovely and cozy with your charming grandparents. It could be that they show you with your lovely toddler and your sweet baby at home with your lovely spouse, or doing something really heartwarming like dancing with the children at the local school. Or it could be that they don't. It could be that they show you sobbing and sniveling in a boring manner. It could be that they show you being a bit snippy and snipey with your professional partner. It could be that they show you doing something very expensive and extravagant, like driving a fabulous fast car. So they can make you seem endearing or charming, or they can make you seem the opposite. That's one way, using the film that they put out before the dance. What else can they do to scupper you if they've had enough of you? Well, they can choose music, because the bosses choose the music. You don't get to choose. Your professional doesn't get to choose. They can choose music which is loud and clanging and clashing and horrible, or a really obscure song that nobody knows and nobody likes, or a bit of really sort of weird classical music that everyone hates. They can absolutely kibosh you by choosing unpleasant, unpopular music that nobody likes. What else can they do? They can give you a really ugly, unflattering costume. Now, would they say, here you are, here's an ugly costume? Of course they wouldn't. What they'd say is, you're doing something comical, we're giving you an amusing, hilarious, entertaining, pantomimish kind of costume. And then you have to come out looking like an absolute dog's dinner. So if they do a combination of a film about your rehearsal week that is somehow unflattering and shows you in a rather unappetizing light, a horrible track that you've got to dance to that nobody likes, including you, and a really ludicrous and unflattering costume, they really are setting the whole show up to throw you out. And in my view, that's what happened to Pete Wicks and Eureka Pritzel this week. They're at Blackpool. They totally deserve to be there. They danced beautifully the week before. What do? They give them "I'm Too Sexy for Your Shirt," for God's sake, which is, something you might like to dance to when you're entirely drunk at a wedding, but not really any other time. And they put poor Pete Wicks in pink PVC, like baby pink, germaline pink, skin-tight, ugly-looking trousers and a totally stupid costume. And they make him look like some kind of extra lumbering in a panto. Not only that, they choose "I'm Too Sexy" because everybody knows that he's a Lothario, he's a Don Juan, he's got lots of women, all of whom are crazy about him. So it totally takes the focus off him as a dancer and basically takes the piss out of him as a person. It's not fair, I don't think, because if you wanted to enjoy his dance, you can't. He looks stupid, the music's silly, and all the whole kind of focus is "I'm too sexy." You're meant to think of him as a sort of sexed up reality TV star rather than someone who's dancing really very well indeed. And I thought that was an example of what James Jordan told me they do on Strictly when they've had enough of you. The best thing about it was, though, their plot was foiled because the audience, very wisely, voted to keep Pete and Eureka Pritzel in the show, not to get rid of them. So ha to the bosses. That was absolutely sweet revenge. And if you want another clue into what I'm talking about, just to see whether you agree with me that they can stack it for you or they can stack it against you, look at poor old Jamie Borthwick and Michelle and what they had to do. He slid down on a flipping, what was it, like a tube, a big sort of canister of tomato ketchup, and then all the kind of co-dancers were dressed as like tubs of mustard and sachets of mayonnaise. I mean, what the hell was that about? And actually, Jamie's a terrific dancer, but boy, was he dancing against the odds when they set the whole show up to make him look like an absolute beep. Conversely, if they really like you and they want you to stay, they will give you a beautiful, lyrical, lilting, fabulous song to dance to that everyone likes and everyone loves, like a very well-known Whitney Houston or something. And then they will give you a beautiful, floaty, chiffon, romantic, charming, endearing, idyllic-looking costume to wear. The wardrobe department will go to town on it. And there you'll be dancing a fabulous waltz, a beautiful Argentine tango to a wonderful track that everyone likes, in a gorgeous outfit, looking your very, very best self. That's how they help you stay in. And that is how they plot to kick you out. So what do I think about Strictly? I think they've got it in for Pete and Uita, and they've got it in for Jamie and Michelle. I think the bosses have had enough of both of them and they want them out. That is what I think the agenda is. Will they succeed or won't they? It's up to us, the voters, isn't it? Wynne and Katya have finally left the show. Some people might say they've rather overstayed their welcome. Wynne, seems like a nice fellow and everything else, but obviously the two of them had to withstand Gropegate, where the publicity was not at all favourable. Wynne made a very good attempt. He certainly seemed to enjoy himself. He said he had the best time of his entire life. I don't think anyone can resent his having enjoyed it so much. Is he really God's gift to the world of dance? Is he a Terpsichorean genius? I don't think so. And I think he'd probably be the first to admit he really isn't. I reckon his time had really come 2 or 3 weeks ago. He slightly managed to prolong his time in the limelight and in the sunshine. But goodbye, Wynne. Goodbye, Katya. I think you lasted a long time. It's quite difficult to see where the judges are heading this year. Who do they want to win? If you look at Shirley, you look at Anton, you look at Motzi, and you look at Craig, who do they seem to be favouring? I'm wondering whether their eye is on Sarah Hadland, because she's a slightly older woman and it would be a first if she won. She's very endearing and sweet. She's a beautiful dancer, absolutely delightful, very dainty. I'm wondering if they are favouring her over Natasha and Aliash, partly because Natasha comes from Love Island, partly because she's young and very beautiful, and partly because she's danced professionally. So maybe they think, although they seem to be streets ahead of everybody else, and she should win, no question, I think she should definitely win, maybe they're gearing up to choose Sarah over Natasha. And I think the standout star who might well carry home the Glitterball and would do it with grace and style and elegance is Chris McCausland, who's been an utter revelation. He has been sublime. I mean, he's a fantastically talented dancer. He's also really funny. And I'm here to tell you, most comedians are not. When I've interviewed comedians over a career of about 35 years, they're usually terribly disappointing. When they haven't got a script, they're rubbish, most of them. And lots of them are very surly and absolute miseries to be around. Well, Chris McCausland is the exception. He's naturally funny. He's really witty. And when he gets a single second on the show to say something, he says something hilarious and cracks everyone up. So he's nice. He's self-effacing. He is incredibly entertaining. He's a very talented dancer. He's a really personable bloke that everybody likes. And notice the fact that he's blind is nowhere near the list of beautiful accoutrements of his personality. It's become almost irrelevant. And I think at the beginning of the show, no one could have imagined that would happen. You have a blind dancer. How can anyone forget that he can't see? The answer is because he's such a wonderful dancer. You don't remember it. You don't care. It doesn't feature. It's not a thing. Obviously, for him, it must be all-encompassing. Achieving what he's achieved without being able to see is just incredible. But what he does for us, the audience, is put us completely at ease. So we're absolutely comfortable with him, so transported by the dancing, we utterly forget that that is a facet of his performance. We're enjoying it so much, and that is remarkable. And I think many people will feel that for that reason, he deserves to win.
Vanessa, people who've watched previous Strictly Roundups from you will know that Montel is a favourite in Feltz Towers.
Yeah.
What was the reaction like when she ended up in the dance-off?
My family are absolutely crazy about Montel, particularly AJ, who's 5 and is a Gladiators fiend. I mean, he adores the show. He adores Montel. When she's in the dance-off, he's standing there stricken. He's got his hand over his eyes. He's just like, oh, no, tell me this isn't happening. Tell me I can't watch it, but he has to watch it. He can't bear it. He's only 5. They are torturing the poor child. We were very pleased indeed that the judges were unanimous in saving Montel because we think Montel is wonderful. She's a firecracker. Thanks so much for watching my Strictly Roundup. Do press the subscribe button and tell all your friends.